Hello everybody, this is Kevin with TechMeow TV. I'm doing a video tutorial today on getting started with RHEL 6, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6. We're going to be working in a Windows 7 environment though. We're going to create a virtual machine using a CentOS minimal install ISO file. So we're not using actual RHEL 6 because I don't really have a license for it, and I'm sure a lot of people don't. But CentOS does their best to copy RHEL 6 or RHEL releases. So we're going to go ahead and use CentOS today. And to virtualize it, we're going to use Oracle's VirtualBox. It's free software. Feel free to use VMware as well. It's very similar. I just prefer VirtualBox because I've gotten used to it. So we're going to open up VirtualBox. We're going to click New. It's going to start the wizard. We're going to give our system a name. We'll call it Server 1. It's going to be Linux, and we'll change it to Red Hat for the version. We're going to keep it at 512 megabytes of RAM. Oh, cancel that out. Alright, we're going to create a new disk. We're going to keep it at VirtualBox disk image. We're going to dynamically allocate. We're going to keep it at 8 gigabytes for the disk space. Create. Alright, so first we power it on. It's going to run the first run wizard. So it's going to ask us where our installation media is. So we're going to go find our CentOS 6.3 minimal ISO that I just downloaded. Start. Okay, so it's going to bring you to the boot menu. We're going to choose the first option, which is install or upgrade an existing system. Hit enter on that. Alright, we can minimize this. Alright, this could take a minute. Alright, I'm not sure what happened there. Let's go ahead and reset it. Let's hit install or upgrade. Whatever it was hung on shouldn't have been. Looks like it was just taking a little longer than normal. Oh, we should be good. Alright, so it found the disk. We're going to go ahead and test the media to make sure it's got everything that's needed for install. Alright, successfully tested and verified. It's going to eject the disk. We're going to continue. Now the disk was ejected, so we're going to go ahead and remount it. You can just right click on the little virtual disk icon here and select your ISO file again. So it found the install media again. It's going to run Anaconda. Alright, whoops. Alright, so welcome to CentOS. We're going to choose English language, United States. It's examining our disk. We need to reinitialize. We're going to stay with the New York time zone. Put in a password for the root account on the machine. Okay. You can see here we have our 8 GB VirtualBox hard disk. Okay. Whenever you need to get your mouse out of the virtual machine, just do an Alt Control and it will pop right out. Alright, so we're going to write changes to disk. So it's going to install mine. I'm doing the minimal install, so it's only 212 packages. Alright, so that last package took much longer than expected, but it finally finished. And now it should want to reboot. Okay, we're going to go ahead and reboot. Alright. I'm sorry, I don't know why my system's running so slow. But alright, rebooting. Yikes, that was loud. Sorry. Oops. Let's go ahead and remove that ISO. So I just right clicked on this virtual CD down here and clicked off that CentOS ISO. So we're going to boot this kernel. Alright, so now CentOS is going to be booting up. You should see the loading graphic. Come on. Now that root password we used during installation, we're going to use it to log in. Whoops. Caps lock. Let's do root. Alright. First thing you'll notice is our host name by default is localhost. We're going to want to change that. To check it, what your host name and your domain name are, you can run hostname, and it'll show you that information. To edit that, it's going to be under the directory etc/sysconfig/network. We're going to use VI editor. We're going to go change those details. We're going to make it server1.techmail.tv. Alright. That's good. Alright. That won't automatically take effect here, so we're still going to see localhost. But let's go ahead and manage our network services. It's going to be under, well, first as an example. Alright, so we can't reach our router. If we run an ifconfig, the only interface that's up is our loopback interface. So we can go ahead and bring up Ethernet 0. We're going to say if up Ethernet 0. By default, it's using DHCP. So if we run an ifconfig now, we can see Ethernet 0 is up. We can see that it has an internet address 10.0.2.15. Okay, strange, right? So let's try to ping the router now. We can ping it. Okay, but we need to change some VirtualBox settings. We need to open up our settings and go to network, and we don't want to do NAT, we want to do bridged adapter. Okay, apply that, bring it down, bring it back up, check now. Now we have 192.168.1.8. Okay, so now we can still reach our router. We can still reach the internet, and on our local machine here, we can also reach the server from there. That's what we want. Okay, but let's say you need to really manually manage your network. There's a under etc sysconfig network scripts. Let's just list this out real quick. Alright. Okay, so we've got a bunch of if up and if down configuration files. Okay, so let's edit our configuration using VI editor, we're going to edit if config -f0. Okay. Now you see here boot proto equals DHCP. That means at boot it's going to try to use DHCP when this interface comes up. So we're going to change that because we want to manage that. We're going to change it to static. Now there's a few extra things that are needed for static. You need to tell the router what IP address you want. So we'll make it this. You need to tell it the gateway, which is the router IP, DNS1, so that it can get DNS from the router. Prefix will be your IP prefix or your subnet, so 24/24 for my network. Alright, we're going to save that. Alright, now let's just run init6. Init6 is going to restart your machine. Okay, you're sending a signal to kill your machine and bring it back up. And there's different initializations you can do. You can do init3, you can do init5, whether or not you want to go into desktop or just command line, or if you want to restart, or if you want to shut down. There's different signals you can send with the init command. We just rebooted with init6. So it's coming back up. Alright. So let's log in. And we can see now that our hostname, reflects the changes we just made to server 1. Now the hostname is over here. So Ethernet 0 is down, so let's bring it up. You can see now Ethernet 0 has an IP address of 192.168.1.41, which is what we wanted to configure it to statically. So it's reachable. We're good. Alright. So we're on the network. We've got our IP we want. So let's we can access the internet. So let's go ahead and let's set up an Apache server. Let's set up a web server. So we're going to use yum. Okay, if you do yum help, you'll see all the different options of yum. But we're going to do yum install httpd, which is the daemon for Apache. So first, it's going to have to download some things. Primary DB base. Updates. Alright, looks like there's some dependencies here. So it's going to install httpd. Found some dependencies: APR utility, LDAP, httpd tools, mailcap. So we'll go ahead and install httpd and all of its dependencies. It's going to ask you to import a GPG key, which the key is used to validate the packages that they are what they say they are. Okay. Alright, complete. So if we check using RPM QA and grep for httpd, we'll see that httpd has been installed version 2.2.15. Okay. Now, so if the server ever reboots, we're going to want the web server to come back up automatically. You're going to use the check config chkconfig. We're going to do httpd on so that it starts automatically when the server starts. Alright, let's go ahead and bring it up. Alright, so it came up. Now let's see if we can hit it in the browser. We'll get to 168.1.41. And no, we can't. I just wanted to give you an example because Linux has a built-in firewall called iptables. So if we go into etsy/sysconfig/iptables and we VI into that, you can see here by default there's a line here to accept TCP connections on port 22. So by default it's set to accept SSH through the Linux firewall. So we're going to create another line here and basically repeat the line above. We're going to accept connections on port 80 for our web server. So let's do whenever you make changes to the iptables, you need to do a service iptables restart. Okay. Now we should be able to reach it from the local machine, which we can. Okay. So we've learned a few things. We've learned how to create a virtual Linux machine. We've learned to put it on a network using a static configuration. We've learned to set services to start on run. We've learned to manage our network interfaces. We've learned to install service from using yum and using the CentOS repository. We've learned to set up an Apache server. We've learned to configure iptables, which is the Linux firewall, to accept incoming connections on different ports. That's it for this one, and thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from it. Next week we might do a video on setting up MySQL server, setting up a master, slave, doing replication, maybe changing what ports services are running on to listen on different ports. Yeah, we'll probably do a couple of those things and maybe a couple more. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Kevin with techmeout.tv. Check out my blog, techmeout.tv. We've got tons of cool posts. I updated pretty regularly. Again, thanks for watching. Have a good one.